Alright guys, so it's the middle of the night, same day that I went to Alcatraz, and I can't sleep. I keep hearing stuff and getting sleep paralysis, which is when you wake up and you can't move and you see things and you hear things. Okay guys, today's video is going to be very cool. I can't think of a good adjective. Okay guys, today's video is going to be very... What? Very what? So today I'm going to be going to Alcatraz, which is... I do know that a lot of really bad people died there because it was such an intense prison, and that makes it...
haunted.
That's why I wanted to go at night and explore it by myself. I'm not allowed to do that. So I'm going very early in the morning because for some people that's night, and it's gonna be night somewhere in the world, so. Okay, so I'm at the place where the boat picks you up to take you to Alcatraz. The plan is when I get there, if it's a group thing, I literally don't know how these tours work, but I'm gonna try and break off, explore the whole place on my own. We'll see what happens. For now, cut to the drone shot. You get it? It was not actually a drone shot. Anyway, guys, I have a feeling this video is gonna be major clickbait. I thought if I went super early, I'd be the only one on the island, but there are so many people. This is the opposite of exploring an island by myself. You know how when you take a tour, you go to the Empire State Building or whatever, they always take a little picture before you enter? Yeah, I just had to do that all by myself. All right, so I'm on the boat. We're off to Alcatraz.
Once the ramp is secure on the boat, you guys are free to disembark. What we do ask is that whenever possible.
Okay, so they're doing the orientation right now. I'm trying to figure out where I can sneak out. Okay guys, so I'm just sitting inside one of the buildings and it feels so eerie already. It's totally empty. It feels like you're in a movie. It's so quiet here. You can hear the birds. There's so many birds here. Now this is mainly used as like a protected area for birds because I don't know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of birds here. They explained it, but I can't remember. I seriously know nothing about Alcatraz yet, so I'm just making up facts until I get the audio tour. This was for the baby prisoners. This right here is where they used to cook the pizza. This is the cannon they used to shoot prisoners if they ever escaped. These prisoners had an amazing view. This is like a resort. This place is so cool, even birds take this tour, man. So rumor has it, this guy is the Al Capone of seagulls. He's killed so many fish. I really need this audio tour, man, because I have no idea what I'm freaking looking at. Seriously though, is this like a bird prison or something? Look at this. They're all standing there like police officers watching the other birds. This is like Planet of the Birds. Okay, so I just read about it. That used to be the playground for the guards' kids and stuff. Now it's a nesting ground for Western gulls. Just so you guys don't get pissed about the clickbait, I'll update you on the whole haunted situation. I definitely don't feel any spirits yet, but...
I'm Billy.
Okay, so I'm inside the prison. I'm gonna grab an audio tour right now. It is starting to feel a little eerie. Like over here, they have all the clothes and the shoes and the lockers. So prisoners would shower here 2 times a week. That's not bad. That's more than how many times I shower a week, so that's pretty good.
I'm Thomas Donahue, a former Alcatraz correctional officer, and for the next 35 minutes, I'll be your guide. In fact, all the voices you are about to hear are those of correctional officers or inmates who lived on the island when this was a United States penitentiary between 1934 and 1963.
He marches into the cell house, and we march down Broadway. And this was like an introduction to Alcatraz. They try to humiliate you in front of the other convicts by parading you down Broadway.
Guys, the tour was so immersive and amazing that I sometimes forgot to film explanations of what I was seeing, so that's why I'm filming at home. So the entire thing is very immersive. If you enter a cafeteria, you're gonna hear the sounds of the cafeteria. If you go outside, you're gonna hear the wind and people yelling and speaking and talking. So the recreation center was actually a privilege. You had to be a good prisoner to be able to go outside and take advantage of that space. And some people would play baseball, some people would just stand, walk around, look at the view. The view was absolutely insane, and that was done on purpose so they could look out every day and see what they were missing. Out here, and it's summer. In the winter they would still sit out here and they would play games, and it was so cold out here. I mean, it's really cold right now. So another area in the prison was called D Block, and this is where all the bad prisoners would stay. If anyone was acting out or not following the rules, they would stay in these cells 24 hours a day. They would only be brought out once a week to shower. Right next to the open cells are a couple solitary confinement cells, which they called the hole. The maximum amount of days in a row a prisoner could spend in the hole was 19 days, and sometimes there was absolutely no light in the cell. It's so crazy being in the room and hearing the inmates talk about the experience with all the sound effects and stuff. One of the prisoners was just telling a story about how he would close his eyes and he would see a light and he would train himself to place a little TV and then create a whole imaginary universe and go on trips. I can't do that, but I guess if you're in a dark cell for 19 days, you're gonna have to do that. The library was absolutely amazing. These prisoners read a lot more than the average citizen. And some of the prisoners, if they had good behavior, could actually use these books to take courses at big universities. They read 75 to 100 books a year. Anything sexual or violent was banned from this library. So it was all philosophers and science books. Being an officer in Alcatraz was actually very difficult. They actually had no weapons. All they had was a whistle. So their only weapon was their hands. They constantly had to be ready. There were multiple attempts to escape Alcatraz, and one of them was led by Bernard Paul Coy. He was successful in creating a makeshift bar spread that enabled him to get through the bars and into the gun gallery. This gave him access to guns and ultimately the key that would let him and other prisoners out into the recreation center, then to the boat, and then they would be able to leave Alcatraz. The only problem was because they tried wrong keys, the lock actually jammed and they got stuck inside. Coy and a couple other prisoners ended up taking the guards hostage, which turned into a 2-day violent standoff known as the Battle of Alcatraz. You could still see the grenade impact on the floor from the battles. During the standoff, the prisoners trying to escape actually killed 2 guards, and when the standoff was over, Coy and 2 other prisoners were dead. Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin successfully carried out one of the most intricate escapes ever devised on June 11th, 1962. Alcatraz was a maximum security prison that nobody could escape. These 3 men used metal spoons and forks to chip away at the vent in their cells. The walls were super thick, but somehow they managed to enlarge the vent hole so that they could fit through it. They would chip away during the 1-hour music break that happened at the prison when people would play the harmonica and the accordion and other loud instruments. The hole in the vent led them to the utility corridor, which allowed them to climb up all the way to the roof of the prison. They made papier-mâché dummy heads and left them in their bed so that the guards would think they were sleeping. They ended up making it off the island in a raft, but the FBI was never able to conclude if they survived or if they died. Even though they never found the bodies, it's unlikely they made the 1.25 miles to shore because the currents are extremely strong and the seawater temperatures were ranging between 50 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit. In 1963, the last prisoner left Alcatraz. It ended up closing down because it was too expensive to keep up. The strong winds and the salt water ended up deteriorating a lot of the buildings, and the maintenance was just too expensive. The quote the audio tour ended on was pretty powerful. It's from a prisoner, and it's about how he felt the moment he was back in society. Everything was moving so fast, and I couldn't keep up. Everyone had a destination, and I didn't know where I was going. I was scared to death. The tour was absolutely incredible. I learned so much, and I had such an amazing experience, and I think it's very important to learn about prisons and the prison system. And I don't know much about it, but I do feel very inspired to learn more about what are prisons like now, are the issues that were happening at Alcatraz
fixed, our prisons getting better, our prisoners getting help transitioning into society. I think all those things are very important. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you soon.